I'll first of all explain what an OBE is. So OBE stands for Order of the British Empire. And although some people said it stood for Online Business Executive, but no, it stands for Order of the British Empire. And it is an award. So somebody will nominate you to the Queen's office, or now the King's office. In my case, it was the Queen. And they will look and see whether or not that person has contributed to society in some way. There are a number of awards. The first one is an MBE, Member of the British Order. Then there's OBE, and then there's CBE. Commander of the British Empire. And then there's knighthoods and damehoods and all this. Mm-hmm. So it was an amazing moment when. So OBEs are these awards are passed out twice a year, on either the Queen's birthday or the New Year's Honours List. And I was nominated for the New Year's Honours List. So just before Christmas, around November time, 2013, I got a letter. Well, it was actually an email, because the letter in all the beautiful parchment paper and envelope had actually been sent to an address that we were no longer at, and it had been sent back. So fortunately, they emailed me, and I thought the email was spam.
Yeah, you would think that.
But I was nominated by the business minister, and it was for the contribution that we made through Academy to entrepreneurs in the digital economy. And it was phenomenal, an amazing thing. And you were allowed to take a number of guests. So I took Thomas and my daughter and my husband and my father, which was very lovely. And I was very lucky. It was the Queen. I think it was one of the last times the Queen actually did the awards, because she stands for hours shaking people's hands, delivering these awards. So a beautiful day, and an amazing feeling of validation. I mean, it is a beautiful gift. I know some people, you get asked if you want to accept it, because some people are anti-monarchy and they won't accept it. But to me, it was an incredible validation, not just of the work that Thomas and I had done, but also the way the members had embraced Academy. Because, as I always teach, a community is only as good as the citizens of that community. And all the members that believed so much from the early days in the values of friendship in business are what made it possible. It's just like if you move into a village, you don't, the person that owns the village, well, would you even know, or it's irrelevant. It's the people you bump into in the shop, in the church, playing cricket or whatever. Those are the people that matter. And so the citizens, when I picked it up, I really was thinking of all the people that had made Academy what it was and the way they'd contributed to one another.
It's fantastic to have that happy ending, because it was over a decade of your life, or approaching a decade of your life, and to have that validation at the end of all that hard work and that journey is amazing.
It was 14 years. It was 14 years of our lives, and it was a big part of our lives. And it's interesting now with our 3 kids who are now 20, 26, 29, and 30. They traveled the world meeting members, and they grew up with it. They were aged 5 and they had little labels and you had to shake hands. And so, and it's incredible how what they learned in those times, how it's impacted how they want to build their businesses as well.
Do you remember what the Queen said to you then? You must have this memory of meeting her. What did she say to you?
She asked me what my citation meant.
Okay, interesting.
She didn't. Yeah, she didn't understand, which is really nice. Because the citation for it was a contribution to entrepreneurs in the social digital economy, and she didn't understand what that actually meant. So I just explained it to her, which is really nice.
How did you feel when we all heard the news back in September of last year of her passing? What was your feeling at that moment?
Oh, huge sadness. Really, I mean, it sort of was the changing tide. I think it was the final changing tide for a time in history. And I'm all for King Charles, and I do believe they bring a huge amount to our country, and I'm very proud of our monarchy. yeah, and what they stand for, what they contribute. You know, I've done various work going into Buckingham Palace, and when you go in as a guest or as a visitor, you go into sort of a reception area, and there's this enormous book, and it's got handwritten all of the current engagements that the royal family are doing. And it's a big book, and you turn the pages and you see how many engagements they have and how hard they work for our country, and for people across the world, all the Commonwealth and
Yeah,
everything.
Commonwealth.
So yeah, I'm incredibly proud that we have a monarchy, and
Yeah,
and for
no,
what they
right.
contribute.
Yeah, fantastic. And that was certainly brought the country together, didn't it? For many days, that particular event. You talk about community
Yeah.
and a sense of togetherness. I mean, wow, those are powerful
Yes,
days.
exactly.
Penny,
Yeah.
can I bring you up to date now, because you run a business. Business is personal, named after your book. Can you share some information about what that is all about, and how are things different now to your experiences at Academy and the early part of your career? How things moved on?
So I think it's quite relevant, really, to anybody that's starting out, is that what happened for Thomas and I, I'll talk from my perspective. Thomas may feel differently when he speaks about it, but I was on, if you imagine a conveyor belt going into an airport, I was on this lovely, slow, steady one in my life. And I wasn't really looking to achieve anything huge. I wanted to contribute to anybody that I came into contact with, but I never envisaged that when I started Academy that we were going to go on such a fast conveyor belt. And it was at one point that I had to look across and jump on that other one, and then stay on that one. And then it becomes an enormous habit that your adrenaline and your ambitions become based on, I'm on this conveyor belt now, and I'm keeping on it. And after Academy, I carried on that ambitious mentality of being a successful entrepreneur. And it was almost like I'd lost sight of really the who I am piece. And there's a really important thing here, which is really about the neuroscience of how we work, and our dopamine and our reward center of our brains, and how we had touched being worth £60 million and what that could do. And my programming in my head was still there, that's what I still need to achieve. But actually, in reality, it wasn't bringing me the joy and happiness that I needed. So when I wrote my book, Business is Personal, it was at a period that I was really reassessing what do I need and want out of my life. And I think there are a number of people that go through this. And I think at the moment across the world, with a lot of cost of living crisis and challenges, there will be a lot of people considering that and having to let go. And Thomas and I had to let go over time of a lot of material ambitions. And I mean, one point, we had to pay off £1.5 million worth of credit cards that we'd used to keep the Academy going, that we'd taken out personally. And so when I wrote my book, I didn't know whether this would be a point that I would actually end up leaving the business world and maybe retraining as a midwife or something, because I wasn't sure how it would be received. But the way it was received was phenomenal, because people are desiring honesty and truth. And they're wanting to we've got our identity and then we've got our truth. And people are living this identity online, but then their truth is what's killing them in a way. But when you share your truth, you liberate yourself and you attract towards people who share your values and have probably also been through adversity. And so as a result of writing the book, I was being contacted by a lot of people. Could you coach me? Could you support me? And do some public speaking on it. And I loved that. And then when the pandemic hit in March 2020, a lot of people started contacting Thomas and I and saying, I am in trouble, I'm lonely, I'm finding this really hard. Could you start community again? And Thomas and I found that really scary, because we went back to the program of being on that fast conveyor belt and that scalable and would we take on LinkedIn and Facebook again? Not on your Nelly.
Yeah.
But then overnight, I said to Thomas, why don't we just create a community of 100 amazing business owners and create the intimacy which allows us, rather than running a machine, allows us to be intimate and close to them and support them and love them and care for them, but make sure that anybody that joins is able to be in their truth. And so that's what we did. And so we created BIP 100, and there will never be more than 100 in it. We've got 84 at the moment. And we have just created this beautiful place that we love. So that's a big, long answer. But I think the message in that is big isn't always beautiful for your soul. But actually what's interesting is that we are more financially stable than we have ever been in our lives.
Yeah, great.
But so you can build business models that are such win-win for both the client and you and your values, which is what we're loving.